the way that the game handles death is that whenever you die, you are sort of moved back to your last checkpoint. And the checkpoints are essentially like maybe every 1 or 2 fights, so you won't have to fight too much before you can get back to the spot that you got tripped up on. The worst part that I found for this was the very end of this mission, where there's a sequence that's probably maybe 3 or 4 minutes long that you have to beat, and that was a little bit tricky because the entire sequence is you're constantly under attack. But I died, maybe 2 or 3 times on it before I completed it on the medium difficulty, which seems reasonable because it's sort of an intense battle. Okay, that was pretty awesome. I'll have to admit that. So yeah, I find overall I was pretty excited about the game. I got the demo like the other day. So like I said, I played through the couple missions a couple times, and I think the combat's satisfying. I hope that there are more kinds of enemies. I'm a little bit concerned that there are only a handful of different types of orcs, and then some chaos or some other kind of critters. And so that would make it less appealing if there's just the same fight over and over. But we'll have to see.
We cannot allow that.
Nice little cinematic effect, a little cinematic moment there, I think. I would have liked a little bit more smoke and grit, I think, but what can you do? Again, I just love the architecture and the attention to detail of the world. I think the world building so far is what's really drawn me in. The combat, I feel, is solid, if, like I said, a little bit repetitive. But the amount of detail in the world is pretty amazing, and like I said, I think it really fits the Warhammer 40,000 universe. It really hit it spot on for me, at least. So this part right here is a little bit interesting because you sort of get drawn into a little bit of an ambush. And I like that the orcs, it's almost like they switch tactics here, where there's this little section where they're all shooters. And I kind of like that they really mix it up. And the other thing that they have is exploding squigs, is what they're called. They're like these little attack dog type things. Yeah, there's one. And they attack you and stuff. It's pretty fun. There are also a few exploding barrels and things in the world, like I just blew up, but they're not super common. You'll really notice that the amount of gore in this game is kind of ridiculous. Like, apart from the executions, which are probably the most ridiculous thing ever, there's also just like anytime someone gets shot, or anytime an enemy gets shot, like the amount of blood is almost, I think it really is comical, actually. Like, everything is exaggerated. And I can't tell if that's just sort of making fun of other games, or if it's actually just trying to be sort of emphasize just the amount of violence that's going on. Yeah, I always found the use of gruesome violence in this game, and as well as in Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War, a real-time strategy game made by the same company, where they have similar kind of executions when units kill each other. It's really, over-the-top violence, and I think it makes it, I don't know, it makes it feel as though, like, you understand that it's not real violence. It's not, a character running through a city shooting up, gangsters. It's like, oh, this is in this fantasy world, and whenever an orc dies, its head, explodes and blood goes everywhere. So, and again, here we sort of fall into like this little ambush and get ambushed by these little guys called grots. They're essentially miniature orcs. In terms of balance and like how hard the fights are, I felt like on medium it was about right. where most of the fights that are sort of like this, you just sort of hack through them and have some fun. And then every now and then there's sort of like a little boss fight or an encounter that's a little bit trickier that you might have to do a couple times, and I think that feels actually about perfect. I played on hard as well for my second playthrough, and that is a little bit trickier, where you have to be a little bit more savvy about when you do your executions, keep your health high, and yeah, it seemed about right for these missions. My guess is that later in the game it's going to be very difficult, but we'll have to see. Yeah, so here's there's also the sort of charge that you just saw a second ago, where if you're moving you can sort of slam into enemies, which is pretty fun too. I'm trying to replicate the move again. Yeah, so the number of things that you can do is relatively small. You can sort of roll, you can sprint, you can attack, and you can do this other sort of stunning attack, and that's about it. And you also have, and then you have your primary weapons. Here we have an entire army of shooters, so that's pretty bad. But yeah. So far, I've noticed that my allies like help a little bit, but not a huge amount, and so I kind of feel like it's almost like they're there for me to feel like they're with me rather than to actually help me in the fight. And I don't know if in other missions there are more allies or not. Again, it's just one of these things where we have to see. And both of the ones that were on the demo, you have two teammates sort of slowly shooting at guys to give you the feeling that you're in a team that's all doing a lot of work, when really you're probably doing 90% of it. So. You can see here again that the orcs have sort of made this part orky by adding their own architecture and sort of stripping down the human parts. So you can see like little towers and stuff. They're not particularly technological, but they do have a nice aesthetic, and they use checkers a lot, which is awesome. I have a fondness for checkered patterns. And so here is the sort of the final battle of the demo. It's a little hold position scenario where you're in basically the worst defensible position ever, and orcs are sort of charging you from lots of directions. In terms of story, I'm not hugely drawn into the story. I think the Warhammer universe itself is more interesting than any particular story, particularly because the stories end up being very, there's sort of a couple themes that they follow, particularly when you play Space Marines, or the Space Marines are involved. There's always this theme of corruption and a sort of a fear that the Space Marines will become traitors. And so my guess is that one of the higher up characters, betrays you and you have to kill them, and it's a very sort of common motif in this universe. I'm also interested to see how much of the orcs' war boss, who's sort of like their big boss, he's their leader, shows up. I believe he's in some of their trailers, and it'll be interesting to see how much you get to see of him, to see if he becomes like a proper antagonist, or if he just sort of shows up once and you kill him and then you're done. So it'd be interesting to see how that works. Yeah, so again, this is one thing that I really love. I love the switching between the melee and range combat, and how fluid the switch is. I think it really makes it, like I said, I think that's going to be the saving grace to this game, is that it makes it so that the combat doesn't become repetitive as fast. And you saw me do a stomp a second ago there. There are a series of other moves that you can do based on if you choose to do a stun like in the middle of your if you choose to do a stun in the middle of your combo, and so we'll have to see. Yeah, these orcs are really pouring it on me this time. you'll see that in a second here, a couple of knobs come in and basically wreck me. And it's really interesting that they essentially can end your life before you even like notice what's happening. So I think I don't even see them the first time before they're already on top of me. Oh, and I'm out of ammo. That's not going to be good. Yeah, so by the time I see this guy, he's already on top of me and I'm at half-life. And again, I try to use the old rocket launcher and it ends up being just adding a lot of sparkly bits to him. So I'm sure he approved of that, but it didn't actually kill him. It is sort of funny that I made the same mistake again, actually. It's not something that I had meant to do, but I have to say they do look good with those little flashing lights on them. So. Dead. And then, of course, when you die, you get the nice little quotes that are from the game universe. So yeah, overall, I really liked it. I'm not going to subject you guys to the other like 20 minutes of me dying to this boss fight, but yeah, I liked the game pretty well. And when I played through the Space Marine demo, and you know, I thought it was pretty good. And I ended up pre-ordering the game, so hopefully I'll get it in a couple weeks and be able to do a full review of it and yeah, see what's going on. Yeah, you can see here I'm trying to figure out exactly how these things work, how the mines. I was a little bit upset that I had died before, but yeah. So I will definitely not subject you guys to the rest of this. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the game. I think it fits the IP well. I think it is, you know, reasonable. I like the sort of cinematic storytelling aspect of it, even if the story is not going to be particularly exciting and it's just going to involve, you know, oh no, who is going to be the one that betrays me this time. So yeah, I think it'll be good, and I'm excited for it, and I hope that in a couple weeks I'll be able to do a full review on it on my blog. So thanks for watching, and please let me know what you think by leaving your comments below, and for more gaming related goodness, please check out my blog at toomuchzerging.com.
Hold the lift. We have orcs inbound. Crippled in body and corrupt in mind.